Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a special edition of this Career A Day segment. We're going to be talking about some educational routes that you can take to pursue a few careers. So my guest today is Dr. Joseph Rallo. Thanks for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
Of course. Now, tell the folks a little bit about what you do.
Well, I'm basically, universities are set up in different departments, and so I'm the department chair of the Security Studies and Criminal Justice program after a long career doing a number of different things, but I'm back at ASU now.
Back at ASU, and I'm sure they're glad to have you back.
Hopefully.
So, okay, we are talking about kind of the law enforcement route. You know, someone wants to be a police officer, a DPS trooper, a border patrol agent. What does that look like education-wise?
Well, I mean, most of those programs are going to require either a 2 and more likely a 4-year degree program. And they really would like you to have some courses in whether it is criminal justice or in the areas of homeland security. And increasingly, our programs, for example, just match up nicely with what should be expected on the job.
Right. So for folks who say, okay, that sounds interesting, what are some of or do you have any examples of courses that, what they'll actually learn in those courses?
Surely. Well, if you take criminal justice, for example, I mean, obviously everyone thinks of police officers, and that's quite true. But increasingly, as you follow the news, I sort of refer to them as social workers with guns oftentimes. They have to have more than just the basics. So they'll take criminology, for example. They'll take forensics. They'll take constitutional law. But they'll also take human behavior, courses in psychology, perhaps even social work to understand the nature of the populations that they may be dealing with.
Okay, so there's definitely a lot involved in all of this, all of these aspects. Right. So what is kind of the, I guess, route that folks should go? Say they're graduating high school right now. What are their next steps to really get involved?
Well, again, a great question. And most police departments are at the state level or at the local level, whether it's San Angelo or other places, and they have police academies. And so one of the first things is to apply to the police academy long before the application process is due, because there are a lot of people who are trying to get in there. But one of the things I always tell students and parents also is that police officer and the other programs that we're going to talk about require a clean background check. So even though you're in high school and thinking about being a police officer, you need to take care about your social media posts. You need to be thinking about driving, etc., things along those lines. So you can prepare yourself, but the first route would be the police academy. Now, if you're looking at the federal government, you're looking at things, for example, perhaps FBI or things along those lines, then it's going to be the federal route. The job applications will be on a federal website, and many of those have different types of entry programs, for example, at Quantico, Virginia, going through the FBI program.
Definitely. So there's, again, a lot of education involved, and ASU is a great route for that. So what are maybe some of those, I guess, ways folks can go ahead and start their studies? Well,
the first thing is, the easiest thing is just come to our website. In other words, take a look, just go to the Department of Security Studies and Criminal Justice and click on the criminal justice degree, and you'll see a 4-year plan. And it tells you basically what comes first, what comes second, and then it'll also point out opportunities for internships. It'll talk about the types of experiences that you can get, even if you stay here in terms of while you're in school. Or we have many students who go to Dallas, for example, or Houston, will do some internships out there with the police forces. So that's the easiest thing to do. Just go to the roadmap on the website.
Perfect. Sounds easy enough. Yeah. And now, speaking of computers, we're talking about cybersecurity as well. That's a thing to learn.
Sure. Well, cybersecurity really is, most people think about coding and most people think about computer science, and that's true. But increasingly, really, there's 2 routes to cybersecurity. One route is the computer science, which is a separate department, and they do a great job over there. But in our department, we look at the analysis side. So, for example, I spent 27 years in the Air Force. I was retired as a colonel. I was an intelligence officer. So I would basically sit in a room like this and take all the information that basically the technical folks have intercepted or somehow gotten involved with, and utilize that in a way of giving policymakers, decision makers, information on how to act. So for cybersecurity, it's not just coding, although if people want to do that, there's plenty of opportunities at ASU, but it's also the analysis side, and that's also equally applicable in the business school, because they take all sorts of information from Bloomberg and other places like that and put it to work so people can make decisions.
Perfect. So maybe this career path would be for someone who maybe they don't necessarily want to be out, having those interactions with folks, but they can still analyze the data, and they're so good with numbers.
Sure.
That's their fit.
That's right, exactly. And for both of those careers, I mean, you are going to, you always hear about somebody going right from high school to Google, and I'm sure there are people like that,
Yeah.
but they're few and far between. Most people need some sort of a credential. It could be, as I said, it could be the military for some people. It's not for everyone. I mean, as I said, I had a great 27-year career in intelligence, and it taught me a lot of different things, opened a lot of doors, and you don't have to spend 27 years in that, I don't mean to say that, but you come out and you also, in addition to having experience, you also oftentimes are able to start your college degree program while you're in the military, and also you get what's called a veteran's preference. So if you do apply for jobs either at the state level or the federal level, there's a point system, you get either 5 or 10 points because of your service. So that's another way to sort of get yourself prepared to enter these jobs.
Wonderful. So for folks who maybe have questions, does your department have a contact information? Do y'all coach people?
Sure. All of the above. In other words, the first thing to do is just to go out to the website. You'll see contact information, my name, other people. But also, too, we have a great, in our admissions office, we have lots of people who are very much more prepared to talk to high school students. But if you're a veteran, for example, or an adult, just give us a buzz at the department, and we'll make sure we hook you up with somebody who can help you down the street.
Perfect. They'll take care of you, folks. Wonderful. Well, thank you again so much for coming on and talking about these awesome topics.
My pleasure.
Of course. We are going to have another guest right after this. Stay with us. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. I've got another great guest with me. This is Scott Turner. Thanks for coming on the show.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Of course, of course. So tell the folks who you are and what you do.
Well, my name is Scott Turner. I'm the program director for Angelo State and our new Bachelor of Commercial Aviation program.
Yes, brand new. We got to talk about this.
Yeah.
This is the first time it's been offered at ASU.
That's right. Yeah, this is the very first semester, fall of 2021. We'll now be teaching people about commercial aviation.
That is fantastic. So let's just start at the beginning. What is commercial aviation?
Well, I mean, it's a huge field, right? So the aviation industry is gigantic. There's a ton of different things that you can do in different career paths, obviously. Typically, when you think of aviation, you think of pilots. But even within just the group of pilots, there are commercial pilots that are airline pilots. There's some that are cargo and freight pilots. There's flight instructors. There's all sorts of different types of paths there. And then it takes airports to run the airplanes too. So there's lots of roles there within the administration side of things. So you've got supervisors that run the airports and then figure out logistics and flight operations and those kind of things. So it's a giant industry.
I was about to say that's a lot of routes.
Yeah.
Those are a lot of different routes. So with this being taught at ASU for the first time, someone who is interested in this, what can they expect with the courses? What kind of material are you going to be going over?
Yeah. So again, it's really exciting, right? I mean, flying is something that's pretty cool, and people like the idea sometimes of their office being in the sky.
Yeah.
And
that's
so,
a pretty cool office.
Yeah, great view, right?
Yes.
And so the nice thing about what we're doing at ASU is we have two different tracks. So you have a flight operations track where you can go through the program and then get a pilot's license as well.
Okay.
And then for those of that people that really like aviation, but they don't necessarily want to fly, there's an administration path. So we have the commercial aviation degree that also has aviation administration, or you can have flight operations, which means a pilot license. Mm-hmm. You have your basic core program classes like history and economics and those kind of things, but then within the core of the aviation degree, you have things like intro into aviation, applied meteorology, aviation law, those kind of things. So it's super interesting.
That does sound interesting. I didn't even know it existed.
Yeah, brand new.
Brand new. That is fantastic. So for folks, since it is brand new, is there a website they can look at to get more information?
Yeah, we're putting it all together. It's going to be on the ASU website.
Okay.
We're going to launch that here really soon. So by the time our audience sees all this, then yeah, sure, it'll be available. But it'll be another degree plan, just the bachelor's degree of commercial aviation.
That is fantastic. So for folks who may be weighing this, in their mind, what would you tell them to really encourage them to go for it?
I'm a pilot, and so I'm incredibly biased about this kind of thing. I grew up around airplanes, used to skydive, so I love everything about aviation. And if you're really passionate about those kind of things, then then this is certainly the path to go. There's great career opportunities as far as the income levels. Pilots make really good money. It's not a boring job. It's a heck of a lot of fun, and you get to travel the world if you're going to be a pilot. And so, yeah, there's just not a lot of downside to it. It is there's tests you got to take, and you got to be good at it, right? Yeah. And at ASU, we have a history of excellence, and so this is going to be another great program where we're going to really require the students that get involved with this, especially in aviation, that they put their mind to it, and we'll encourage them and help them along the way too, because everybody in aviation just loves that community, and we always like to see it grow.
It sounds like a community that everybody works together and knows everybody.
Yeah, 100%.
Fabulous. And how cool would it be to be one of the first graduates with this bachelor's degree?
Yeah, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. There's really only a handful of four-year universities in the whole country that offers this kind of program, and in Texas there's really only 3. But San Angelo is really unique because first of all, we have the climate that's favorable for flight. So if you're going to train in Florida or Colorado or something like that, you got to really worry about the weather. And in fact, pilots from all over the country, when they're trying to earn hours to earn their commercial or their ATP certificate, they'll come to San Angelo to be a flight instructor because there's so much opportunity to fly. You fly 350 out of 365 days a year. So geographically, we're a great place, and the airspace that we're in a Class D airspace. So what that means is it's just busy enough to give new students some experience with talking to tower and talking to the ground and taxiing the runways and things like that, without the traffic of big Class B airports like DFW and Houston. And so you don't have to worry about all the traffic, but you get the benefit of great blue skies to fly in and a great community to work in.
That is fabulous. Well, thank you so much for coming on and telling us about this brand new program at ASU. Any final thoughts or messages for the folks?
Oh, it's just going to be a ton of fun. I mean, it's going to be a ton of fun. It's going to be some work, but nothing worth anything is easy. So we'll get in there, we'll get it done, and we're going to have some great pilots come out of the program.
Good advice. Well, thanks again, Scott. We really appreciate you. And hey, you stick around because we are going to hand it over to our David Wagner, who's got more awesome guests coming up in just a sec.
Hi, and thanks for joining us today as we continue on with our Career A Day. We're starting to delve into our higher education folks from Angelo State University and Howard College as well. Joining me now is Dr. Leah Carruth, who is going to talk to us about if you choose the path to become a teacher, which for me would be kind of foreign because I don't know that I would want to teach students like myself when I was in school, Leah. So let's talk a little bit about that as far as how you actually get students interested in becoming an educator.
Well, I think you have to have a passion. I think that's the biggest thing, is you have to want to work with other people, to be a helper. I think a lot of students who end up becoming teachers, they want to help others. And maybe they don't like medical field, etc. And teaching is a great option.
Right.
And there's always a job.
That's true, and especially it seems like lately there's been a shortage of teachers because it's not the best paying field, and that's a tough thing for journalists, I know, to attract kids to come there. Right. But their career path, how do you get them into that path when they start maybe looking at that? I think I want to be a teacher. How do they go down that?
Well, I could tell you in Texas they have endorsements that they choose in high school, and one of those is that they can go into human development. Which helps give them a little bit of the beginning courses about how a child develops and how you work with them. And in those areas, they actually work with them in the younger grades. They go and their class works with, let's say, kindergarten class and helps out. And then when they get to college, we have a very first class that they take their first semester there. That is Intro to Teaching. Right. And
does that weed some students out, Intro to Teaching, and others that excel into it?
It does, because it is non-education majors can take it as well.
Okay.
So it actually brings people to education who kind of maybe were borderline or really come to school undecided. which there are a lot of students who come to college and still aren't quite sure what they want to do.
Sure.
And those classes really help guide them because you get to have fun. And
Right.
it could be pre-K all the way to seniors in high school, whatever your passion is for the age.
There you go. So really starting off with the intro to teaching kind of a class, and then from there, what is their plan? I mean, depending, I guess, where they're going to go, if it's secondary education or elementary, that sort of thing.
Right. So if they're going to do elementary, they will take several classes. They'll have education courses every semester, along with your core that every major has to take.
Right.
Where personally, I teach reading and early childhood courses, so I teach the fun classes, I call them, where you get to engage with kids and play with things and have fun. And then they do that all their semesters. They'll end up having block classes where they learn how to teach specific content. So learn how to teach your social studies, your science, your math, and your reading courses. And then they student teach before they graduate. Now, if they want to be secondary and they want to teach, let's say, middle school or high school,
Which, God bless them if they decide to go that route, because we all know how teenagers are. So
so they will actually go in and major in whatever content area they want to teach. So
Okay.
if they want to teach history, then they will major in history, and then their minor is in professional education in our college. in
So
college education.
if you had someone that was interested, what would you say to a high school student that's maybe thinking about that career? I mean, obviously it's something that you chose and continue to choose as a teacher at ASU. So
Yes. I say go for it. I say even if you love a content area, go and try to be a teacher of that content. Because sometimes we have people who are passionate about the content, but we have people who don't know how to teach it
right.
at times. And just go for it, because it's one of the few jobs or paths in a college you will have a job right when you graduate. You're pretty much guaranteed to have jobs. Now, we know the pay isn't great, but you know what? They're working on it.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of things we can do to help bump that up some. So
And there's also some good parts of that, because as we were talking, you get a spring break, you might get a summer, I mean, depending on what you're doing. So
you might. Now, we're not going to say you get your summers off, because reality is you don't.
yeah, you don't. You're still working in your class, or
Yes, you're still working, getting workshops, training, that kind of thing, just to keep up with the things that are changing. You always have to keep learning.
Right.
And so if you have a love of learning and want to share that with others, teaching is the way to go.
All right. Well, Leah, thank you so much for coming on today and telling us more about the career path. If someone's interested, obviously they could come to ASU and talk to you or someone in the education department about the field.
Absolutely. We have advisors for both levels, and any of the faculty members are absolutely happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Sure. Now, would you suggest if a student maybe does some, or maybe it's a non-traditional person that maybe wants to go substitute teach before they actually take the courses in college, does that help sometimes?
I think it does. I think any experience you can get with children, especially the age you might be interested in, is very helpful. I recommend our own students get out there and sub before they finish the program as well, because any little bit will help.
All right. Leah, again,
Absolutely.
thanks for coming on today and telling us more about it. We appreciate it so much.
Yeah, thank you, and you're welcome.
All right, and of course, you can go on the Concho Valley homepage and check out Sonora's interview with a teacher and how you actually would want to be and become a teacher, as Leah has talked about. So you can check out her sit down with a current teacher on that career path on the Concho Valley homepage. So once again, Leah, thanks for joining us, and we will have a couple of other ASU folks to talk other careers here in just a second. And welcome back as we continue with our professors from Angelo State University as we're talking about our Career Day segments. Joining me now, Dr. Tom Starkey, Associate Professor and Chair of the Department of Social Work over at Angelo State University. Thanks for coming on today, Tom. We appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So let's talk about this because, for students that are coming out of high school that are trying to decide, social work, it's probably tough in some respects unless you really have a heart for that type of stuff to get students interested in social work.
It is, a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about social work. They get their ideas about what social work is from TV shows, movies.
Sure.
And it's much more than that. Social workers can do clinical social work, diagnose, bill, treat. Social workers work in Shannon, working in the ER, oncology, the med surg floor. We have social workers that work in substance abuse, of course, CPS, criminal justice system, on and on and on. I actually did a short little stint at the forensic unit at Terrell State Hospital, which is the criminally insane unit.
Oh, wow.
So yes, I mean, it's just there's a lot of diverse opportunity in social work.
Right. So when students are coming out, I guess, what is their career path? Obviously, they're taking their basics as everybody else, but then they decide and they declare that social work's what they want to do. Kind of what's their career path once they get there?
Well, once they finish their basics, usually the first 2 years, the last 2 years are nothing but social work courses. It's a 60-hour major degree. Their first year, basically their junior year, they're taking kind of the foundation courses, what we call our social work core courses, our Practice 1, our HIPSE course, which is human behavior, social environment.
Kind of building that foundation
building
of what.
foundation
Okay.
up. And then their senior year, we actually have what we call field education through our accrediting body. In simple terms, it's an internship.
Okay.
And they do.
Is that where they get their hands dirty,
That is
basically, if
where
you're
they
going to
get
say it
their
that way?
hands
So
dirty,
yeah.
absolutely. We place them at different agencies. If they're here in San Angelo, obviously they're placed with an agency here in San Angelo. And they actually work with real life clients with either a social worker or a related discipline. We have students that are doing their internship at Shannon Medical Center, Rivercrest Hospital, several nursing homes. We actually have some students doing their internship at SAISD as school social workers. Even though they don't have a social worker, they're working under the school counselor so that they can go on, get their master's and become a school social worker, which is really big in the bigger cities.
Sure. So let's talk a little bit about it as they go through their program and they get out with their bachelor's degree in social work.
Mm-hmm.
Is that all they need? Because I know as a psychology major, when I started out, they said if you don't really go on and get your master's and your doctorate, you're probably not going to do really well.
Sure.
Bachelor's degree in psychology, my professor made a joke and said you can manage McDonald's with this. So, and I mean, not to belittle that at all, but same kind of deal with social work. Is the bachelor's degree, is that really the best, or is it better to go on and stay in and get a little more education?
Well, that's a really good question. Actually, with your bachelor's in social work, you are eligible to be licensed in the state of Texas as an LBSW. And the median salary for LBSWs in Texas is $57,000.
The median.
The median.
That's not even the top end.
That's, yeah,
so, wow.
That's the median. That's the midpoint. In Abilene, it's about $54,000, and I'm getting this information from salary.com.
Right.
They don't have San Angelo listed, so I can't tell you specific, but it's probably very close to Abilene or right at the 57. The good thing about getting your degree as a BSW, it allows you to go get your master's, and if you have your degree in BSW from a accredited program, you can get your master's degree in 1 year versus 2.
Oh, wow.
Now, if you don't have a BSW, you can still go get your MSW. It just takes the traditional 2 years.
Okay. So if you were talking to a student today, obviously we have, I'm sure, some watching that they're trying to decide where they're going for their careers. What would you say to them that would make them, maybe choose this career field or would entice them to even look at it?
It's a really diverse field, a lot of opportunities. Again, you can work anywhere from school social work to healthcare to CPS, APS, criminal justice. If you get burned out in one area, you can switch and go to work in another field. It's a very marketable degree. I have students who have graduated that reach back out to me sometimes through email and say, I'm so glad that I chose this degree. It's given me the opportunity to help others and accomplish what I wanted to do in life. And so it's just, it really is kind of, I think, a very diverse degree.
All right. So again, Dr. Stark, thank you for coming by and telling us more about it. If someone wants to reach out at the university to find out more about that possibility degree plan, they can get in touch with you?
Oh, absolutely. They can reach me at my office, which is 325-486-6130, or via email, tstarkey, tstarkey @angelo.edu.
All right. And of course, Sonora Scott Talks with a Social Worker is one of our Career a Day segments. So you can go online here to Concho Valley homepage and check out that as well and hear from a current social worker and see what they deal with on a daily basis. So again, Dr. Starkey, thank you so much for coming on today and helping out with us.
Thanks for having us.
All right. We'll be back after this. And welcome back, folks. Now joining us is Mr. Larry Heddick, who is the instructor and over the Department of Management and Marketing at the Norris Vincent College of Business. I have to think about it and make sure I get it all in there right. So
a lot of words, but it's a great school.
Yes, and Larry, thank you so much for joining us today as we are going through our Career a Day kind of segments and visiting with our friends from Angelo State and Howard College and trying to help some students understand what it's going to take to get to this career that maybe they want to do. Sure. And marketing and management is one of those careers. I mean, at one point, I kind of looked at some of that as I got over into a different degree area. I started as a psychologist. And then I changed altogether. So I don't know.
That's not unusual.
I think they figured I was crazy, and that's why they wanted me out of their department. So they sent me to journalism.
And now you're in television.
And yeah, so I am crazy now, but it's good. So Larry, talk to me a little bit about that management and marketing degree for students.
Sure. Well, management and marketing offers you a whole lot of opportunities to work in different kinds of businesses, and it doesn't even have to be a kind of a for-profit business. It also helps you to learn organizations and how to run organizations. So,
okay.
So for example, some of the things we learn about are just the principles of how to manage people, human resource management. We talk about information systems. We talk about marketing. We talk about accounting. Those are all pretty critical skills for business. And if you're going to work in or operate a business, that's something that you kind of want to get some basic training in, some basic education in, and that gives you kind of a step up for going into different kinds of businesses, even if it's an entry-level position.
Sure. Now, is that what you would say to a student maybe that had been a couple of years in and gotten their basics out of the way and were contemplating going into that? Or what would you tell them to come to the marketing management side? Sure.
Well, first of all, I encourage them to do something that they like. Mm-hmm. And don't get a degree just because you think that that's going to be the degree you have.
Right. I have a degree. Mom and Dad said I had to get a degree. So
it's interesting because, for example, my first undergraduate degree was in political science.
Oh, wow. I need to put that away. So when we're doing elections, I'm going to bring you back, Larry, so you can be a guest.
But that's because I thought when I was in college, I thought, you know what, someday I want to run for president. But then I kind of got out of college and I said, you know what? I can't afford a Coke at the snack bar, so maybe running for president isn't what I need to do just quite yet.
Sure.
And so I eventually found my way going into business. And I also, I got an MBA along the way, a master's in business administration. But I wish I had, knowing what I know now, I wish I'd gotten an undergraduate degree in business because that would have kind of positioned me to move along a little more quickly in the business world.
All right. So what is their path? If, say, a student gets to their basics and they come, what's kind of their career path to become a management degree?
Sure.
To get it?
Core programs are important. For example, you need to be able to do math. You need to be able to write. You need to be able to do some speaking. You need to understand different cultures. We have a class, for example, in cultural understanding, and those are important skills that are kind of core classes. And then once you kind of finish those core classes, and generally those are done the first couple years, you're going to focus first on intro to business. You're going to look at some principles of management, those are kind of some overview classes. And then you'll take some courses that specialize in what you're going to do. So, for example, if you want to be an accountant, you can kind of take an accounting track.
Okay.
You can be an economist. If you want to go work in finance or banking, you can go into those kinds of roles. Those are a little more numbers heavy if you're good with numbers, and if you like them, and a lot of people do like numbers.
I usually like them at the back of my paycheck or the zeros there. So
yeah, numbers on the paycheck are good.
Yeah.
And then on the management side, it's a little bit more about managing organizations and managing people. So, for example, we have courses in human resources. we have information systems, which is increasingly important. We have some marketing classes, and not just principles of marketing, but for example, digital media marketing, how to be able to promote your company electronically. That's becoming increasingly important these days.
Right. That's a huge one. I would assume that there's a lot of students that are interested in that now.
And then we have, so those are kind of the core business classes, and then you get to take some electives for things. So for example, if you're interested in sports marketing, we've got some courses in sports marketing. We have something for people who are more interested in managing information systems. We have some advanced classes in project management, so you can learn to manage development projects. So it kind of, you kind of can narrow down first your common core, and then your business core, and then you can take some electives along the way that kind of to see what you like. That gives you a chance to kind of look and see, this is something I'd be interested in.
Sure. Obviously, if students are interested, because that's part of what this is since we can't really have a true career fair.
Yeah.
That's why Workforce Solutions helped us out, and we're trying to show some students what it's like to have a career in marketing or management, and we have those online. Sonora's done some interviews with those folks, so you can check those out on there. But just learning from you the track of going, how you would go through Angelo State if they decide to come to Angelo State, which I'm sure you want them to.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
they can always come by if they wanted to reach out and have a little more information from you.
Sure, absolutely. We have advisors, we have admissions counselors who are great at helping you understand what you want. We also have a career development center at ASU. And that is available to you as both a student and even when you graduate. So they can help you kind of hone in on what you want to do for a career. And certainly we work closely with those folks. And then we also have, one of the things I really like about ASU, and actually this is only my 5th year to teach. I've got about 30 years in business.
Oh, wow.
So I kind of did business before I came to teach business. So it's been a real joy to me to get to work with students and share my business experiences. But one of the things that I really, really like about ASU is that we are there for the students. Just before this appointment, I spent about 45 minutes talking to an international student about what should his next career path be. He's a marketing student.
Right.
And he said, how can I use my strengths to do the things that I want to do? Where should I look next for a job? And we work with those students. We help them to kind of help figure that out.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Larry, thanks for coming by and telling us more about management marketing. And again, you can go online and check it out with the interviews that Sonora has done. And we're excited about this partnership with Workforce Solutions, ASU, and Howard to learn about this and hopefully set some students on the right career path.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for joining us as well.